Ever wonder why some people thrive under pressure while others break? It's not luck, it's science. Welcome to the Mind Performance Podcast. I'm Lindsay Paoli, a therapist and a mental performance strategist. Each episode, you'll get expert insights, real stories from high performers, and small shifts that lead to big results, so you can be better at what matters. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to the Mind Performance Pod. I'm your host, Lindsay Paoli, and today we're dropping our episode directly on the Lunar New Year, or the New Chinese New Year. And this is the official start of the year of the fire horse, which if you follow me on Instagram, I've definitely talked about. Millions of people are talking about it. I feel like everybody is more excited about Chinese zodiac than I think ever before. I think because last year felt like such a difficult year in the year of the snake, where we were all shedding old habits and patterns, and it just felt rough. And so now everybody's looking forward to something fresh and exciting. And how exciting does the year of the fire horse sound? Yeah, 100%. So candidly, I am not like an astrological or zodiac expert by any means. But I told you guys in episode 1 that the entire intention of this podcast is for me to learn and for you to learn right along with me. So I couldn't find an expert on this topic. If you are an expert or you know an expert, please send them my way. I'd love to have them on. But in the meantime, it's just me and you, girl. Like me, you, and chat, because I've done a deep dive on this to figure out all the things that we need to know about the year of the fire horse. And we're about to make 2026 our year. And so today we are talking actionable strategies to make this year your bitch. But first, a little bit of background about Chinese New Year. We're on take 2 of this, by the way, because I was like, oh, I need to understand more about this. First of all, I also want to say, like, I teach with my clients in the past and in a lot of my courses, a lot of the traditional Chinese medicine that I've learned. For a brief period, I worked in like a really holistic practice that included acupuncture and chiropractic. And they brought me on. So it was kind of like a full mind-body connection. And there was a great acupuncturist there. And I got my first session of acupuncture. Oh, maybe I'll invite him on. And he was the first one to tell me that like Chinese medicine is very practical. He said the Chinese are very practical. And so they're not going to keep around anything that doesn't serve its purpose. They're going to get rid of it. And so the fact that traditional Chinese medicine has sustained for centuries and been passed on and maintained and is still practiced today is a testament to its effectiveness. And so I've really transitioned in my journey from a very black and white thinking, show me the science, to obviously I'm talking to people about frequency and energy and electromagnetics and the connection of physics and the woo. And traditional Chinese medicine, I think, is one of those things that I was really interested to start learning once it was explained to me that way. And so the same applies with the Chinese zodiac. I think a lot of people are also kind of coming around. And this year specifically is a year that is intended for us all to become more awakened and more aware and more open to finding new ways of explaining and seeing the world. Sorry. I don't know if you're watching on YouTube, Pepper, we love him, but he's an asshole. Leave me alone. He also just farted on me. Okay. So let's learn a little bit about Chinese zodiac. So I was just researching this. This is wild. So our new year is essentially like an administrative new year. Like we always have the new year on a 365-day cycle. Essentially, it's kind of an arbitrary made up calendar that people decided upon to just keep consistency. But like the reason that our new year feels like it falls in a terrible time and you're like, it's in the middle of the winter and you don't feel energized or ready to start your new year by any means is because it is just this kind of like arbitrary administrative reset that always begins on January 1st. And it's when our businesses, our government, our school systems, for the most part globally, decide to kind of reset and restart. Oh, it's the Gregorian calendar. And I've heard on Instagram, not anywhere that I trust the conversations yet, but that it was intentionally designed that way to disconnect us from nature so that we were more easily controlled. But again, who knows? So the Chinese New Year is based on the lunar calendar. So it always falls on the second new moon after the winter solstice. So this is very deeply connected to nature. This is literally you resetting after winter. And so it's usually happening between January 21st and February 20th. It falls on a different day every year because the lunar cycle is different every year because the moon and the earth are traveling. And so it's going to be more aligned with seasonal transitions, agricultural cycles, and just natural energetic shifts. So if you listened to the Visioneering episode, then congratulations, you got a head start. But I also told people do not emphasize the need to be focusing on setting goals during this time. Your body is naturally primed to be resting and digesting, and you're still in like a hibernation phase and reflecting and replenishing for the new year, not resetting and aligning and creating goals for the new year. But right now, today, if you're feeling that energetic spike, it's because you're naturally aligned with nature. Spring is starting to blossom. Seeds are being planted. Things are being more aligned to grow. And so this is the perfect time to listen to the Visioneering course. Now, it is no longer available on the podcast, but it'll be included in the show notes at a small cost. And I'm actually teaching it on today, the day of recording, with my building here. So just a little tiny intro of Self-Care Social Club that if you're also not following that on Instagram and you're local to Florida, be sure to follow Self-Care Social Club FL on Instagram if you're here in Florida, because we are starting to find all kinds of great opportunities for women to practice self-care with a great community of other women trying to do it all. So this is a good time to start considering what your looks like. Now, we're coming from a year of the snake. And in Chinese zodiac, there are 5 different elements. So the elements are wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And so last year was a wood year, which means that the theme was growth, expansion, creativity, flexibility. The shadow side of it was a feeling of frustration, impatience, and overextension. So if you felt like you were shedding, as a snake does, that old skin to grow into a new version of yourself, because the energy, it says, of wood is upward and outward. You're literally shedding that old skin and becoming a new, then that might have felt really frustrating. Now, fire element has very different themes. It feels passionate. It expands visibility, expression, and leadership. The energy is radiating upward and activating, but the shadow parts of this element is impulsivity, reactivity, and very burnout prone. So this is why I was like, I really need to talk about this, because everybody has heard why this is such a great year and how we're stepping into this amazing new year, and we want to do all the things and we want to get out of that old energy of the shedding snake. But your girl is an expert on burnout. And I've been teaching for years that if you cannot harness your energy appropriately, then you're going to burn yourself out and you're going to squander the energy of this year instead of like coasting it and writing it out. So this is why we're going to give you the 5 actionable tips on exactly how to make this year your year. So a little bit more specifics about the fire horse is this year, our fire horse energy is fast, bold, magnetic, impatient, powerful, and destructive if unmanaged. So you want to make sure that we're taking good care of yourself while growing into this better version of you as a leader. Another, like the psychology behind the fire horse energy is it may be a year of like really feeling like you're chasing dopamine. You may feel that you're making really impulsive decisions. This may be a year for really big identity shifts. And so you want to step into that with confidence and alignment. There's a potential for burnout risk. If you're an entrepreneur or a business owner or just somebody who's considering putting something out into the world, this is a leap year for you. It's also a great year of relationship intensity. And I will candidly say, like, this has been a focus in my relationship already this year. Is like we've had some discussions about what we want our relationship to look like. And the year hasn't even started as of this recording. And I feel like we're already making really big relationship leaps in my marriage personally. So we want to make sure that we're highly activated, but very intentional about it. All right. So I love a good actionable tip. So I'm going to give you 5 actionable tips in order to make this year focused and directed and harness this fire energy appropriately. So our very first tip is I want you to choose one direction, just one. And this is something, especially with entrepreneurs or just highly ambitious people, and me included. I get a million ideas a minute. Working with me is a nightmare. And so I'm thinking of things and then I'm like, oh, and then that is also another great idea and we should go in that direction. And you don't accomplish anything. And the more you learn how to focus your energy in short spurts instead of focus short amounts of energy in a million different little directions, the more traction you're going to make. So I want you to think of, I wanted to think of a great metaphor and I'm terrible with metaphors. Yeah, so I don't have a metaphor because all I can think is how I used to try to do metaphors for my clients in the therapy chair and literally exactly that would happen. And then they would look at me and therapists are known for having great metaphors. And for whatever reason, that is just not my strength. And I feel like as the role I need to portray that I know good metaphors and I never do. I always panic and freeze. So you're welcome. You caught that in real time. It's one of my most embarrassing traits ever. Okay. So we're going to pick one direction and I want you to take a moment. If you want to take out a piece of paper and jot this down or even create a little note in your phone, we're just going to jot down these 5 things that you're going to kind of focus on and just take some time to reflect on. And if you're driving or not in a safe place to do that, please don't. Just do it later. All right. So just the one thing. So some areas that are great for fire, horse, or just horse energy are getting super dialed in on your health, getting really intentional with your visibility. If you've been wanting to grow your following on social media, then choose that as your focus for this year. And then you want to use this as the lens for how you make all of your other decisions moving forward. And we're going to talk a lot about making intentional decisions in the year of the fire horse in a bit. Maybe this is the year that you really want to scale your business. You're tired of being in the exact same place and you're looking to finally grow into a bigger version of what you offer. Maybe it's the opposite and you're like me and all you want really is family presence. And this is why it's so important to just choose one, because you cannot have both scaling and family presence and visibility all at the same time. If you're filtering your decisions through 3 different lenses, you're going to be running in 3 different directions and get nowhere. Okay. We got a metaphor, guys. Okay, so let's imagine that you're sprinting and you're doing the 100-yard dash. And at first you think that you need to go off to the right, but then you realize that you actually have to go off to the left. And then you realize, let's say you had glasses on and they were kind of skewing your vision. And so you're running in the wrong direction. You run too far to the right, you run too far to the left. And then the closer and closer you get, the more you actually see your target. And it feels so far away because now you've run 2 completely wrong directions. That's what not choosing the correct goal is. It's making you run further, pushing the distance even farther away, sucking your energy, especially if you're sprinting. Okay, don't go too far with it, but you get what I'm saying here? So you have to just choose one. There's always time for the others, but I want you to be super focused on what your one goal is. And then because you've written it down and you've put it out into the universe, just like we did with visioneering, now your brain is going to look for opportunities to make it easier for you. And you're going to start filtering your decisions from, okay, is this improving my visibility? Is this improving my scalability? Is this improving my family presence? And if not, then we don't do it. This is going to help you to prevent shiny object syndrome, overcommitment, and dopamine chaos, where a lot of my clients end up anyways. All right. Tip number 2. I want you to build recovery into your calendar. This very much ties into the mind fundamentals, right? Everything I do is through the lens of the mind fundamentals. And so having the small breaks or the unplugging strategically in your calendar is going to help you from burning yourself out and running out of time and energy. Because yes, we get to rely on the energy of the universe in providing a natural foundation for this fire energy, and 4, things to be moving rapidly, and 4, perspective shifts and big identity shifts. But we're still responsible for ourselves. And if you don't take care of yourself as a mother, a wife, a business owner, whatever you're doing, you're going to get sucked up. So I want you to schedule non-negotiable self-care days, or at least blocks into your schedule. Tony and I this year have started doing self-care Fridays. They're not self-care, it's like couples care Fridays. And so it's a built-in date day for both of us to just spend time together. But also we're strategically trying to do like things that are fun, but wellness driven. So we're going to like a contrast therapy location tomorrow where it's a sauna and a cold plunge. And then they have like a vitamin C shower, which I've never even heard of, but I'll have to report to you on Instagram. So stay tuned. We've also said that we're going to learn golf. I'm going to learn golf. He's going to just play golf because it used to be like one of his favorite hobbies and he never does it. And I was like, well, if I make you spend time with me on Fridays, I'm going to make you teach me golf so that we get to start doing things that you enjoy. Basically, it's me forcing Tony to practice the mind fundamentals because he's been kicking and screaming and ignoring me for the past 8 years of me building this process. And he's finally coming around and seeing that everything I ever said was right. And you're welcome, Tony. So it's also built-in self-care time for me too. Also, strategically, I have the Self-Care Social Club, which is intentional built-in time for creating community and doing more fun things too. And so I'm also looking at Pilates studios and other fun activities. I'd really like to do a pole dancing class, but I haven't found one here. And just opportunities to connect with women. Because really my goal for this year, instead of business, is like connection. And so just like finding my people and spending time with my people at home. So that is my number one big goal for the year. And so Self-Care Social Club also kind of builds that in and helps me to find my people, because if they're people who are interested in doing fun things that take care of themselves and allow themselves to become a priority in their own lives again, then those are my people. So strategically enter it into your calendar. And I say that, and I think that people think that means it's like a just for fun thing. And I see all the time the biggest mistake that people make when they put self-care onto their calendar is it is negotiable. So if a big client comes up or if a client needs to reschedule, they're like, oh, well, that's just my manicure day. No. Your self-care is non-negotiable, just like if you were having a meeting with your kid's teacher. Right? You would not ever reschedule the meeting with your kid's teacher unless you absolutely had to, right? Because then the well-being of your kid is at risk. You get to be just as much of a priority to you and those around you as your child or your marriage or whatever else you deem super important. And the only way to do that is for you to hold really strong boundaries. And so I know that this blew my mind the first time I started doing this a few years ago, is like, people will say, oh, well, how about Friday at this time? And the first time you say, oh, no, I'm busy that day, even though it doesn't feel busy, my Fridays are my self-care days. I have not taken clients on Fridays in years at this point. But when I first started doing this and I would say, Friday is not available on my calendar, or I'm already booked that day, I wasn't lying. It felt like I was lying though, because I wasn't quote unquote busy. I wasn't doing all the busy work in my business, or I wasn't doing productive housework or cleaning. Maybe I could be, but I could schedule the entire day to just sit and watch Netflix and binge because I was on my period. And that counts as a self-care day for me. And in the business world, or coming from corporate, that sounds absolutely insane, but that's why I built my own business, because I get to do whatever I want. And if I'm going to sustain running my own business, being my own marketing team and C-suite team and sales team, like I require some time off, because it's not a 9 to 5 anymore. It's a like 24/7. So the same applies for you. Your self-care time, this designated time, is non-negotiable. So when you put it on your calendar and somebody says, oh, I'm sorry, we've got to move, do you have this time available? You do not have that time available. That time is for you. That time is dedicated time for you. It is unmovable. Do not move it. And tell your assistants, if you have them, to also not move it. I don't care what it says. I love the executives who put like their therapy on the company calendar and like it's designated, everybody knows you can't book during that executive's therapy time, but it also is candidly showing everybody that they go to therapy. Anyways, similar thing. We all got it? Perfect. All right, let's talk a little bit about decision making. So we're on tip number 3. I want you to make decisions faster this year because it's going to tie into the energy of the fire horse. You're naturally going to be presented with more opportunity this year, and we want to banish self-doubt. That does come with a caveat. There's going to be opportunity lurking around every corner for you. And again, this is something that we really talk about in Visionary and that even Ruth Furman talked about in her last episode, how opportunity presents itself. So this year is known to be presenting all of these great opportunities for you to be in alignment and for you to go in different directions that maybe you would have never thought before. And so when it's a small decision, I want you to trust yourself and make the small decision immediately. Just decide immediately and go with your gut, whatever it feels like. So the caveat to this is if it's a big decision, like somebody asked me about moving across the country yesterday, that's not a small decision. That is a big decision. I want you to give that one 48 hours, but no more. Like, don't allow yourself to sit and overthink this for a month and not make any traction at all. Allow yourself 48 hours. Small decisions are like being invited to a concert. That came up to me because I have a friend coming down from Nashville. She happened to have tickets to Rascal Flatts for Valentine's Day. And typically I would defer to my husband and say, do you already have plans for Valentine's Day? And instead I was like, this is my year of making decisions. And so instead I told him, hey, we're going with my friend Kelly and her husband to Rascal Flatts for Valentine's Day. Okay. And that's not typically how I would act. And he was like, great. So again, presenting new opportunities. And I'm also so open to it as like, I've never hung out with her husband. I'm so excited to see her. And who knows what other opportunities arise from creating these new experiences. Small decisions like, are you going to the gym with your friends on a Tuesday morning? Yes. Like lean into it. Yes. Go with your gut. Also lean in with your gut and say no if the lens that you have is taking better care of yourself or slowing down or whatever the big lens decision maker is. Use that to make your decisions. My lens is connection. So I was like, immediately, I haven't seen you in forever. Yes. Does that make sense? So quick decisions, trust yourself, trust the universe, trust that everything is working in your favor, trust that every opportunity is an opportunity bigger than you expect it to be. And let's see where it'll get you at the end of the year. Tip number 4, watch your relationships. Horse energy values independence and fire intensifies ego. So that means you can show up with less patience than you might have. Oh, that yucky, I'll just do this myself energy, which is like the worst thing that you can have if you're trying to grow anything. So don't fall victim to that. So we talked about dopamine seeking earlier. And when we chase dopamine, arguing produces dopamine. So you are coming in with like high conflict energy this year. Oh, I'm interested to see how that's going to play out politically. We're already starting to see politics get really antsy. So it'll be interesting to see how this comes, but just be mindful that you are going to be in a higher conflict energy. So you need to be more aware of de-escalation this year. So I want you this year to spend some time each year considering your relationships and really valuing them and putting more time and energy into them, while also being mindful that you might feel a little bit more irritable or more frustrated with people because you have this dopamine seeking conflict energy. And also, I just feel like that's the natural mindset of somebody who's growing is you just get really tired of everybody else's shit. And so if this is a year of growth for you, just be aware that that might be how you feel, but you really need to pay attention to where you put your energy in your relationships. Where are you choosing your connection? And what does that mean? Who do you need to let go of in order to choose relationships that allow you to focus on your primary lens focusing goal? Who's going to need your presence more than your productivity in alignment with your big picture goal? So again, remember, you're always coming back to the big picture goal. in all of your decision making. Finally, this is a fire year. This is all about movement. This is all about heat. And this is a year for you really to be moving your body to keep this energy flowing effectively, because there's nothing worse than stagnant energy in your body. It's one of the number one contributors to anxiety, is that shaky, there's just so much happening at once feeling. And that's the feeling of this year in a nutshell. And so you do not want this year's energy and opportunity being thrown at you from all different directions, making you feel frantic and unsettled in your own body. So this is really a year that you need to be moving your body daily if you haven't been practicing it already. That'll also increase your irritability that we're already experiencing potentially with relationships if you're not naturally moving your energy. So yeah, these are all the mind fundamentals, honestly, now that I'm looking at this. So today, this is movement. And then the last tip was deep connections. Tip number 3, decision making is intention. Tip number 2, recovery is all about unplugging. And tip number 1 was intention. So the mind fundamentals strike again, as usual. So make sure that you are prioritizing movement in your body this year. I always teach my clients 10 minutes a day, as long as it's intentional, is going to feel better than not doing anything. And it can be squats. Squats is one of my favorite ones because in the world of longevity, your leg strength correlates to how long you live. And so I'm always going to be building this butt and legs and everything else will follow because I want to be here for a long time. 10 minutes of squats is a long time, but you can do a 10-minute body workout. That's primarily squats, I think. And especially on your high stress days when it feels like the world is just moving so quickly, those are the days that you truly need to be moving your body. So we're already being intentional about scheduling some recovery or downtime. I would also recommend that you schedule some movement time for yourself, whether it's 10 minutes first thing when you wake up. Tony will drop down out of bed and just hop into push-ups. Or if it's after work, a time where you're connecting and doing yoga, whatever the case might be, but you need to be moving the energy of this year in your body moving forward. All right. So keep in mind, this year is not a shrinking year. This year is not about you getting smaller or more bullseye focused. It is really about expansion and directing your energy appropriately to create potentially career pivots or big love, really big risks, big reinventions of yourself. But you're not going to do this as effectively if you're not creating structure around the fire, if you're not protecting your nervous system, which I'm always going to say, if you're not moving with intention and purpose, and if you're not allowing yourself to recover strategically. You guys, forget the year of the fire horse. This is the year of the mind fundamentals. So I want to hear your thoughts on these 5 tips and let me know exactly what your goals are for the year. I'd love to hear your guys' number 1 big bullseye goal, the lens through which you made all the rest of your decisions. If you'll contact me on Instagram at the Mind Performance Pod and let me know your 1 big bullseye direction so that I can help cheer you on. Be sure to share it with me. And you can stay tuned next week for it's happening. It is official. I'm saying it out loud now so I can't back out. The Gut Brain Reset launch. We are officially launching next week. Listeners will get early access to early bonuses. So you're going to want to tune in and get all of your deserved discounts and specials and add-ons and really understand what the Gut Brain Reset is for, who it's for, why you need it, why it's been so incredibly helpful to me. So until next time, I'm your host, Lindsay Paoli, and I will see you next Tuesday. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening to the Mind Performance Pod. If you got value today, make sure to subscribe and leave a quick review. It really helps others find the show. As a thank you, grab your free Mind Fundamentals Compounding Consistency Habit Tracker at the bottom of the homepage on lindsaypaoli.com. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Mind Performance Pod for tips, updates, and behind-the-scenes content. Can't wait to see you in the next episode.